All right, we should be back.
Because we said something about freedom of speech.
Probably. There's no telling. Golly, I can't. Man, that's 2 weeks in a row that Facebook and it wasn't with this software. Man, that's so aggravating, dude.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to get back there to look.
I'm trying to get back. Dan, if you don't mind, share that again and say, once again, we got locked out by whatever happened there.
Right,
Anyway,
so,
what I was saying is, I mean, government shouldn't be intervening in speech like that, but it's obvious that an employer should be able to make those determinations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's another piece to that responsibility. It's really easy for people to say something now on social media or the internet, and you wonder to yourself, yeah, but would you say that in the middle of Walmart with people around you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Travis when he was still with us as a co-host. He used to say, a lot of people, they don't fear being punched in the throat anymore, and then they'll just say anything they want to online, and it's easy to hide behind that keyboard when you would obviously wouldn't say that out in public.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah. And now it's gotten so bad they'll say it online under a fictitious name. I mean, that's
there's a whole bunch of fake profiles out there. So
that's YouTube still allows anonymity. So that's why we get most of our dirty comments or rude or atrocious comments are right there on YouTube. You can't go to somebody's profile like you can on Facebook and see who they are. They can hide behind whatever. Yeah. So bunch of pansies. Anyway. So you're in the middle of your second term. You got one more year of this term, right? Is my math right on that?
That's
your
right.
First in 2022.
Yep. So we're going into year 4, and I'm in every 2-year election cycle. So we're ending this second term. We're going to be starting. This is year 4. So once year 4 is second term is over, and it's right back to, if the Lord's willing and wants me to do that, and then it's back into the political politicking scene, and hope things go our way in November, and we go into session 3.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask, if you're going to run for re-election, or are you going to maybe try to pick up that state Senate seat? I mean, how much? No. What's the term on? What's the max term? I know the way Florida is different in a lot of states. Some states don't have term limits. Some do. Some have consecutive term limits, like Florida. What is that in the Senate? I don't know. I don't recall.
So it's 8. It's 8 in the Senate and 8 in the House. So you can do 8 in the House. You can do 8 in the House, and then you can actually switch over to the Senate and then do 8 there again. You can even, if you're crazy enough, you can go 8 House, 8 Senate, and back to the House.
Yeah,
you can keep doing it as long as you're switching branches. So but
you could take 2 years off from the legislature and then rerun again, even if you weren't in Senate. Correct? I mean,
that's correct. Yeah, as long as you sit out, as long as you're away from whichever one you were serving in for a 2-year period, you can go back and do that. But Jay, Senator Trumbull, and myself are on the same path, same 8-year path. So his 8 years ends when my 8 years end. So
okay, gotcha. Cool. So let's dive into something real quick. All right, one of the most recent things that's come out is this open carry. I think it was the 25th when that became, because of that lawsuit, that became law. What's your thoughts on open carry and it being legal now?
I mean, I'm glad for it. The House has been a much more conservative branch on this. You haven't seen a lot of it is. And I know this frustrates people, but sometimes you don't run a bill because it can't go in. Like 3 years, my first 3 years, we've now passed off the House floor, taking long guns back to age 18.
Okay.
We've passed it every year for the last 3 years, but it never moves in the Senate. And open carry wasn't going to move in the Senate either. Now, you'll probably see several folks lining up file the open carry bill to make it, just to make the law and the statutes match what we just came out with. And I mean, that's our constitutional right. We started off with our first constitutional right, which was freedom of speech, and now we're on our second one, and that's our right. There are parts of me, so many states already have it, and you don't see issues.
Right.
So you don't know what it's going to look like until you know what it's going to. You don't have those problems in Alabama and the other areas that you have. Now, there are parts of me that go, what's my reaction going to be the first time I walk through Walmart and somebody's got an AR strapped to their shoulder, strapped to their back? What's my mindset going to be? But you know what?
Walmart, the way I understand the law, it works the same as the concealed as far as areas where it's appropriate to carry. And a private business can say, we're gun free, like the hospital up here is gun free.
Right.
You obviously can't carry in a bar. It's got to be 60-40 restaurant. You can't be standing in a bar area, if I remember my concealed class. Not that I have guns. I lost those in a terrible boating accident years ago. But if, things like you can't go in a school, government building, anything like that you can't strap. And I think Walmart, don't they have prohibition on guns now that they don't sell them anymore?
Well,
I know they still just use that as an example, but
right, it's an example. I mean, they do still sell guns. And you're right. Any private business can say we don't allow it, that type of thing. And listen, in the pharmacy, I've thought about it quite a bit because I've always thought that if I have enough time to react, I can shoot somebody before robbing us. And I'm in a pharmacy.
If they walk in and they're open carrying, you have a tactical advantage anyway. I'm glad that you can open carry, but you would never see me do it. I would.
Yeah, and that's going to be up. That's going to be up to people.
Sure.
There'll be some folks.
Well, part of that is there was always a fear with concealed carry that somehow you lift your arms up or your gun becomes exposed accidentally, and that always made people.
And then and based on Florida law, that's actually brand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dan. I apologize.
No, but there was, though non-intentional, I know was a part of, but that's also subject to somebody's interpretation too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
usually a judge, yeah. Because that technically could be considered brandishing. You lift your shirt up, and
it shows. And now
whether that was on purpose to show your gun or not. Yeah. Well, that's all gone now.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it's the blessing, I guess you can say. I think I'm all for it, and I think.
Here's the reality. The judge overturned that how long ago now? At least a week, right?
Well, he overturned it 3 weeks ago, and it went into effect
September
on the 10th. That was the final judgment. Was on the 25th.
Yeah,
but so it's legal now, and I don't think that I've seen the first open carry person yet.
No, I haven't either. Now I've been in bars.
Now tomorrow, I was going to say tomorrow, 15 people will walk into the pharmacy with an open,
just to show you.
Yeah, just to show me. Yeah, just to show.
I want to put my 45 that I lost in a tragic boating accident on a paddle holster and just walk around the neighborhood.
It's funny. When I was growing up in Georgia, concealed carry, you had to have a permit for concealed, but open carry was, that was totally legal. And my dad had this Ruger 45 six shooter and this Western holster that he would tie around his knee, and he, it looked like Quick Draw McGraw out there, and we would go fishing, and he would wear that. He'd go in the bait and tackle store just to show off the holster more than the gun, because the holster was pretty fancy,
Yeah,
and we didn't think anything of it. That was just. I had shotguns in the pickup truck in high school, in the gun rack. And
that was, you're talking when we grew up here, you kind of weren't cool if you didn't.
Yeah.
And I look at it nowadays, wow, we've come a different way, because a kid leaves a knife in his truck and he may get in trouble, but man, we didn't even lock our doors. We'd have, I'd have a 30-30 and a 243 sitting in that gun rack back there and my doors weren't even locked on the truck.
And
Just sitting in the
nobody
parking
would
lot.
dream of going in your truck unless you said, "Hey, while you're out in the parking lot, will you grab that pencil out of my glove compartment while you're out there?" I mean, that would
Yep.
be the only reason somebody would go in your vehicle.
And you know, you tell people about that and they don't believe you.
No,
It's so contrary to the world they've lived in for so long.
absolutely.
It's crazy. They don't believe it. I've been called an absolute liar. I grew up in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Like
Yeah, I don't
literally,
believe
it was college, it was high school football and hunting. That's pretty much what everybody did. So there was a gun in every pickup truck that, just like you said, Shane, the doors were not locked. The guns were completely hot and loaded and ready to go. And oftentimes the kids would hop in their truck right after school and go hunting, or they'd hunt before school.
Yeah, well, listen, we'd have some of them. You were really good when you could kill a buck before school in the morning and then still have it in the back of your truck and you hadn't even gutted it yet. So
yes, I've seen that many times.
So
And when the weather's works well during that season too. So especially in
absolutely.
northern areas.
Life was good back then. You had a whip antenna and a CB, and that was our cell phones.
Yeah, and the kids had buck knives on their belts at school. I mean,
we had this kid.
There was a smoking area.
We had this kid
outside.
I'm not condoning that part.
I'm not either, but it's just how things were so different.
Yeah, it was.
There was this guy. This is how rural the town I went to high school. I mean, this is how country we were. We had a guy he loved the coon hunt. He had the dogs.
That's so much fun. That's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a big time, but he loved it so much that he wore it. You know, and I don't know what you know about a coon's anatomy, but they actually have a actual bone in their penis.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And he would wear. He had a leather, thing, and he wore a coon penis as a pendant on it. That's how country we were where I grew up.
Oh, listen. I can't tell you how fun it used to be to sit on a truck bed and listen to a dog at 11:30 at night, and you're listening. Yep. And then you knew when he had him treed, and then it was game on. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was some good times, man. Good times, and rabbit hunting at night too with dogs, and oh man, I miss that. Now we need to go hunting. I mean, I'm not staying up that late to coon hunt, but maybe we can do a afternoon dove hunt or something,
And there was no school shootings. I mean,
yep.
Like there was none of that stuff. I mean, you had the occasional accident that happened in hunting, and that was really it.
Well, that goes to what we were talking about a little bit before we got on the air. Is I think one of Charlie Kirk's big things was the nuclear traditional family. Not having that in society has caused such a huge issue, not only with, how we view each other and treat one another. I mean, I'm Gen X. So you guys are what? Y'all are boomers, right?
I'm the last year of Gen X.
Shane's actually younger than I am, but we were to a degree. We were latchkey kids because mom and dad were working, and you get home from school, man, but you didn't want to stay in that house and sit there and play video games. You want to get out.
No, there used to be a public service message saying it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The kids were out on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan, I think I didn't know if you wanted to talk about more of that we talked about, Shane, or not. So I won't put you on the spot there when we're talking about the traditional family.
Oh yeah, yes, and that is a big piece of everything I want to try to fix is I think you touched on it. You can fix a lot of what's wrong with society if we can get back to establishing that traditional family and having a commitment level there. I tell folks all the time, in the pharmacy, I'll have some old couples and they'll come in sometimes and say, yeah, we're celebrating our 68th anniversary or our 70th anniversary. And I'm thinking, man, I don't even know if I'm going to live that long, much less,
right.
And it's inevitably, this is almost the same story across the nation. I just want to know. So what did your dating life look like? Oh, we dated a month and got married. I'm like, flipping month? And
Yeah,
here we are, 68 years. You know why they're celebrating 68 years? Because when they said that I do, there was a commitment level back then that meant we're going to fight through this. And guess who was rewarded because of that? Their kids.
Their kids and them.
And their neighbors and society.
Yep, and society. You're exactly right. And so, how do we get back to there? How do we bring back the traditional family and recognize the importance of that fabric? Make sure that that's what we start focusing on.
Well, there is a hostile, festering, complete opposition to that viewpoint that's out there, and they're vocal.
Absolutely.
They're mean. They're nasty, and they're angry, and they're not afraid to just pair you a new poop shoe.
That's fine. Bring it.
Yeah, I've been in that battle for 2 days, talking about like some inappropriate books in the children's section at a public library, and
I saw that.
The people coming out of the woodwork. And you know what? One of the biggest problems we have is and this doesn't apply to everybody, so take it with a grain of salt. It's that liberal, white, suburban mom in a traditional family that wants to save the world. And they're out there doing battle for this ideology that is, kind of having a negative impact on society. Now, that isn't meant to demean the people who are in those type of relationships. They can do whatever they want to. Just leave the kids out of it.
Yeah.
That was my battle with the whole library thing. Stop introducing this to kids. Stop putting it.
Well, and Dan and I talked a little bit about this last night. When we were testing this software, and Dan and I mean, when you say Dan and I on this cast, that's Dan and I anytime we're hanging out.
Everywhere. When we go everywhere.
If we're sitting there watching college football, we are talking just like we talk on this show. Probably a lot more swearing than we're doing tonight. But the point I made last night, and I think it's so fundamentally accurate, is that until we can agree on a common baseline of morality, which we used to could do.
Mm-hmm.
There was a common baseline of morality, I mean, and people don't like to hear this, but that's based in biblical fact. I mean, it's based in biblical principles, was that common baseline. Well, now that there is a certain level of society, especially here in the United States, where they like the idea of moral subjectivity. If it feels good, I should be able to do it, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as I'm not hurting you. And now it's to a point where I may not be hurting you, but I'm going to make you go along with what I'm doing. So that's when it started getting really dangerous. And until we can agree on some moral baseline, I was telling Dan this, I'm done arguing with people like that, because we can't agree on a starting point. So there's no sense in trying to jump in the middle of the race.
I won't let them have
and outrun them
unchallenged, though. I won't do it.
No, I'm not saying don't challenge them. I'm just saying
I won't do it.
No, and you shouldn't. And on that moral thread, here's why they're so far out there is they want to shuck personal responsibility. And what do I mean by that? You're never going to outrun the biblical laws of reaping and sowing. And when you reap something or you sow something, you're going to reap it. And what they don't want to do is feel the misery of the guilt for something that, does that make sense? They don't want to. Yeah. They don't want to know something's morally wrong, because then that makes them guilty for it.
That's the whole baseline argument for abortion. Even though they don't say it out loud, they use the fringe things like rape and incest. The whole
0.001%.
The whole purpose of abortion, 99.99%, is I want to do what I want and damn the consequences. And I got a little pill or a doctor that'll take care of me if something happens I don't want to happen. All the other arguments are garbage.
Absolutely.
They may not be real. They may be real to certain people, but not to the whole situation as a whole. The argument is it's a moral argument that I want to be able to do whatever I want to, whenever I want to, and I don't want there to be any consequences. That is the abortion argument, period.
Yep. And I'm glad you just brought that up, because that is one of the political things I'm working on right now. So this summer I was working on an adoption bill or adoption language as to how I fixed the cost of adoption because it's out of control. And I had a great an attorney come over from Pensacola, and we were talking about some of the adoption pieces. And I said, since we did the abortion bill, there should be more adoption opportunities out there. And she was the one who brought it to my light. She says, they're not. And I said, what? She said, you're getting your reported numbers of abortion in the state of Florida are down. That's your reported numbers because that's the folks that have to report. So what's happened is all these ladies are now going telehealth to a doctor that's in a shield state, and then a pharmacy's filling the abortion pill and mailing it to them. Yep. And so they figured out a way around it. We put misdemeanor charges in that bill than when we originally did it. But if you're in a shield state, misdemeanors don't do anything. And so now I'm trying to, how do I fix this? Because they're just finding a workaround this thing, and it's even worse than the original. So I know Texas just passed something, and I'm trying to figure out if that's the route I want to go. No point intended to most of these any attorney that's out there listening. I'm not a big attorney fan, but it may be Texas may be onto something because they did it in a civil suit situation where the husband, the grandparents, or somebody like that of what would have been their baby can now sue the drug manufacturer, the pharmacy that filled it, and the doctor. And that may curb some of the illegal activity. But so I'm trying to figure out how to fix this loophole they've gotten away with. So,
well, the realistic numbers are way up. They just created a way to make it easy. And imagine having an abortion. Like if you're farther along in the pregnancy and you take this pill, and now I'm asking this as a layperson, is this accurate? You're going to discharge what's developed so far at your home, correct?
Most of them are, but if you do this later in the term, you've now created a true healthcare issue. Because if you're pretty late in this, and that baby has grown even more, and now you kill the baby, now you're probably looking at that's going to be a much bigger medical issue. Yes, that is in essence what would and should happen, but a lot of times you get to doing this late in the term, now you're going to be in the hospital, and we're having to do something surgically. So
yeah, I wonder if they're making people aware of that, because I haven't heard.
Let's think about it. You're going to call a teledoc, and then that young lady who's looking to, in her mind, solve her life problem at the time. In her mind,
how far is the child developed?
Well, I mean, that's the problem.
To know that they're pregnant, to be able to act on it. Now, some of them are preactive. All right, I had unprotected sex the night before. I'm just going to take this day after to go. But there's probably a significant portion that find out they missed their period and they're like, "Oh shit!" Oh, sorry, I just cursed.
Yeah.
They go, "Oh crap!" See, I fixed it. So, and they go, "Oh crap!" And then they get this quick option, and then you have massive complications with it, potential massive complications, depending on how far along. But if you're talking about a point where you now, as the woman, realize you're pregnant without like something that they feel or make them take the test, and we're a little bit along, are we talking like you're going to have a hospital
so you get past,
involved in it?
Yeah, so you get past 15 weeks, it starts getting problematic. But here's the real issue is, and I'm going to make up a life scenario. The girl's pregnant. She wants to keep it because she thinks it's going to trap the boyfriend who's cheated on her 1,800 times. Then something happens at 22 weeks and she realizes this isn't the best idea. And now she calls a teledoc and tells them, I'm 12 weeks. I mean, and so now you got that.
Well, hopefully we have doctors that handle that the right way.
And I don't know what the interstate regulatories are in regard to physicians practicing telehealth across state lines like that, don't they? I know if my wife, who's an RN, if she had to if she did telehealth, she'd have to be licensed in the state she dealt with. So I'm assuming those physicians are licensed in the state of Florida,
not
and
necessarily.
therefore can be. Oh, really?
Nope. And there because here's what we could have done.
Practicing medicine without a license in the state of Florida, which is a felony.
When but here's the problem. There's some packs up that kind of keep you from having to have a license in every state. And so there's
reciprocity. Yeah, I get that. But
well, you can be in a healthcare pact, which means states have other states that your docs can participate in with telehealth and ours, and this is just one of the drawbacks of telehealth. But let's face it, if you're a doc in telehealth and this is your specialty, you're not looking out for anybody really.
Right. No, you're just pocketing cash. So Heather brings up a question, and I think it's something worthy of addressing. She says, "How is it a traditional family?" And I'm paraphrasing. I'm assuming that's what you meant, Heather. How is it possible, a traditional family possible, when both parents have to work in order to get by? My answer, I have an answer for that, but I'll defer to you two guys and see if we're on the same page there.
Both my parents worked when I grew up.
Same.
Both mine did too. You're still a traditional family because on Sunday there's two of you. I mean, and here's the truth: your kids are going to have a mom and a dad. They're both feeding parental advisement or parental stuff into you from a father and a mother, and that's important. A lot of people don't understand how important it is to have both of those feeding of children. And yes, I mean, Charlie Kirk, we're going to keep coming back to him because that's what kind of motivated everybody to get back on the thing. Yeah. That was one of his big things was he wished that we could create a society where the mom could stay home and raise a kid. I mean, that would be ideal.
That is an excellent segue into the property tax discussion, because I feel personally, you know how libertarian I lean, and I believe that all taxation is theft, that if it's not a use tax.
Yeah.
I feel like when a family is having to pay anywhere from 30 to 45% of their household income in taxes, that's part of what, not all of it, but part of why both parents have to work.
Don't disagree there. And, and here's another part of the truth of it. And we'll come right back into taxation. We like stuff.
We do like stuff.
We had a TV in my house when we were growing up. I think we've got 2 in every room, in my house now. And so that's partly my fault. If I curve back everything, then Holly would be at the house every day. Now she needs to curve back too, because Amazon shows up almost daily. So, but that's that's what we've changed society. So yeah. Also, listen, I get it. There's still traditional families that are in income things where it takes both those incomes to make the house work, but you're still a family, and both husband and wife, father and mother are present, and that's a whole different thing. So now let's get back to property taxes.
Yes. And while you're talking about that, I'm going to drop off camera for a minute because I need to grab a Tums. So go ahead. I'm listening. I'm just having to walk over here. So
listen, the property tax argument thing, or the property tax, we're going to get something on the ballot. It's all about getting it right. Because I said this in committee the other day, whatever we put on the ballot is probably going to get passed. I could probably put. Go ahead.
Talk about the options that are out there,
right?
Because I've read a whole bunch of different options.
So here was how the conversation first started: was the governor got out there and said, "Hey, if you own your property, you shouldn't be renting it from the government." I mean, that makes great sense and great logic. But then the question became, okay, are we talking all property? Because then, that becomes an even bigger financial piece if we're talking all properties. And then it went to homestead. But then I kind of have a little bit of issue with that saying, because if you're going to say that my homestead, if I own it, paying property tax means I'm still renting it from the government. Well, I own 2 businesses and I own those buildings. So it's not the same concept that if my businesses and I own them and I own those buildings, am I still renting it from the government? The answer is yes. I'm going to be renting it from property taxes. So I think what's narrowed down now is everybody is focusing on just homestead. Okay. Now, how far to homestead? Do we annihilate it altogether?
Yes.
Do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And listen, I love this because.
But I think I mentioned this. Let me clarify that. But we need to guarantee that we will not have an income tax in the near or distant future, as long as I'm alive on this planet.
Listen, I don't. Nobody's going to support an income tax, and here's what you like. I hope Mary's on here so she can comment. But I had a round table and I played devil's advocate with everything. Whatever we do, you can only do one of 2 things. If I'm going to cut property taxes, that means I either need to make up for it by not spending.
That's it.
Or,
there you go.
Yes.
We're done. We're done. That's all we have to do right there, Shane.
Okay. So all right. So we're gonna go back to devil's advocate. That works in some counties. Now, one thing I have learned through this whole process is just how different this state is. All right.
Sure.
The 3 of us live in an anomaly, an absolute anomaly in Walton County.
Right.
We can have the lowest millage and we still collect the most per resident possible.
Yeah.
And so example, here's the thing. When you grow up in Defuniak, even if I ask folks in Defuniak right now, what's the average home price in Walton County? They're going to tell me. They're going to tell me somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000. You know what the average home? You know what the average home price is in Walton County?
Probably $3/4 to a mil.
$675,000.
That was close. Yeah.
And guess what? The other anomaly is the majority of them are second homes.
Yeah.
So even whatever I do property tax wise, homestead property tax wise, it's not going to affect Walton County like it will the other 4 counties I represent. So
Sure.
the majority of revenue that Holmes County gets is from homesteaded properties. So it's like 70-something%, whereas in Walton County, it's only 17% of the tax revenues from homesteaded properties. So how do I do something in one that doesn't make something else? So if I did away with all homestead properties, Walton County make it. Holmes County will not make it. I mean, they won't have a sheriff's department. There won't be a 911. There will not be a government, period. And then so how do I fix that? You know, how do I do this in a manner that we give true property tax relief, and some county governments and city governments and town governments need it to get correct in their fiscal responsibility, while others are very fiscally responsible. They just don't have very much. And if you take 50% of the little they have, it's not going to make it. So how do I, it's how do I do that? Now I've made that case, and the governor's now gotten out and said, he's throwing out a number that is higher than what it really is, but all the fiscally constrained counties, he's ready to put, general revenue money into, and he calls it budget dust. I don't call anything budget dust. It's still tax dollars. But it's how do you do this? How do you do it right and still have service that you want? Because yes, you said it, abolish them. But if you call 911 and nobody shows up, you're gonna be the first one pissed off.
Well, we have a system that's set up because we have those dollars. We need, if we took those dollars away, they'd have to figure out another way to make it work. So rather than, my stance is rather than not do it because it will negatively impact some places and not the other, like people need to figure it out.
I get that, but so I have 2 kind of non-negotiables. And that's good. I have 2 I have 2 where I'm kind of non-negotiable on, and that is education and public safety. Those 2 still have to be able to function. And I've heard a lot of folks say there's so many different arguments out there. Like, oh, if you're 65 and you own your home, you shouldn't have to pay. Well, I got a problem with that. Not against my seniors, but I do have a problem with that. One, that disproportionately affects the villages. Okay. But what's to say a 68-year-old, and this may be offending somebody, and I hope it does. What's to say a 68-year-old who hasn't done anything ever, worked or anything, should deserve not having to pay property taxes over the three of us who work every single day?
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
You're not going to win that argument.
You make up the difference with use taxes. Think about pre-income tax amendment. I mean, how did we generate revenue then? I mean, and I know this is, you talk about devil's advocate. This is really outside the box thinking, because our generation and the generation previous to us has never known a world without some sort of income tax or being excessively taxed.
The problem is we've created a government to utilize that money.
Yes.
The government is just expanding because that money just continues to expand. And in our area where they can brag about the millage rate going down, but our taxes still go up.
Yeah.
May I ask if budget dust is redistribution of wealth?
We have to draw a line, and if we have to draw a line in the sand, we have to draw a line in the sand and then work it out afterwards. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, but you have to be careful that once you draw that line in the sand, because once this goes on the ballot and it passes, if we figured out, we drew the wrong line.
We did that with a $15 an hour minimum wage, and look at what we're paying for a freaking value meal now. We're dealing with it.
I wish we
will deal with.
Somebody made that statement the other day. That was the worst thing we've passed in the last 25 years.
It was horrible.
And I agree.
I tried to convince people otherwise, and they said I was an idiot and I didn't care about the people who were making. I'm like, you don't understand the business world. Stop talking.
Yeah. So that person went from $8 to $14 an hour, and milk went from $1.19 to $4.
Right.
Now, how'd that math work out for you?
And it doesn't help the people now making $15 an hour, because everything costs just as much or more.
Right.
And they're not taking home any more money.
Absolutely.
No, they're spending more on essential goods and services. And I mean, it's proportionally idiotic. I mean, there are a couple of case studies you can look at regarding, is it Norway or one of the Scandinavian countries does not have a minimum wage, and they have the highest average salary of per capita of any country in the world. Their minimum salaries are astronomical, and they have no minimum wage at all.
You know why, Wes? Because government screws almost everything up. They're good at the military. They're good at a few other things. They need to get the hell out of everything else.
Well, you know my philosophy on that. But all right, we need to move on.
All right, Shane, you're in the government, but I want to limit your ability to control my life.
Yep, we're running out of time. So let's. I was going to ask you about property insurance competitors. I noticed that we've got a new one that's come in. I think that's a good. Do you know of any others that may be coming into the state?
There's some coming in. Listen, this is a hot point, and it has been for years. And oh God, I just had to get an inch for the house here today, and it pissed me off.
Sure,
but you also go, being on the other side and seeing what's going on. It's one of those things. The more the government gets involved, the more screwed up it's going to get. We did some things back in 2022 that kind of righted the ship with the litigation pieces. We were so out of whack litigation wise that lawyers were getting rich off of homeowners insurance, and it was costing everybody else. And now that we've corrected that, there are several more entering. The good news is I think everybody's starting to see auto insurance creep down. So we're seeing some of that. Homeowners insurance, there's a couple of them that have reduced rates. But the good piece is there's new companies coming in. And any free market, the more competition you have, the better it is.
That my last corporate job, I worked higher up in property and casualty insurance. And I worked both the underwriting side and in the sales management side, in different at different times, not at the same time. Of course, when you're in sales, you have to you're the field underwriter anyway. But when there's more competition, you've got people who will take rate actions, and the state approves that. By the way, they approve a raise or decrease in the rates because they mandate the fact that you have to have so much on reserve to pay claims if you get hit. That way, you don't go bankrupt and leave the state with the bill to pay for hurricane damage or flood damage or whatever. And I know Dan wanted to talk a little bit about the flood insurance program, but I think if it's all right with Dan, we're going to breeze past that because FEMA shut down, and that's a federal issue more than anything because FEMA regulates flood insurance or underwrites or backs private companies to write flood insurance. So
here is an idea I want to run by you guys and kind of get your feedback on, because as I was dealing with it today, they say how much my replacement value is. Now, I don't know who they is and what they base this on, but I'm looking at my house when I can build it for a lot less than that.
Sure.
Or what if I don't want to, I own it, I don't owe a mortgage on it. What I don't want to build this size back. Why can't I decide this is how much coverage I want on my house? If I don't have a mortgage, why can't I say, I don't want it insured for that much. I want it insured this much, and then I'll pay that. And
used to, now I've been out of insurance a minute, but they used to give you a choice between fair market value and replacement value, because replacement value is more than fair market.
I don't even think you should do that. If fair or replacement, if you own it, and let's just say, like right now, it's a 5,000 square foot house, but let's just say I'm at a stage in my life that if this thing burnt down, I want a 2,000 square foot house. So I want this one insured for this much money. I don't know anybody. I don't have a bank that needs to get paid off.
Right.
Why can't I do that?
You should be able to self-insure. I didn't realize that Florida had a law that required you to have insurance, period.
You don't, but you got to have,
I mean, obviously you don't want to take a hit for that if it's damaged from whatever, but I agree with you. I think you should be able to do like right now I've got an older Airstream, and it's a classic Airstream, and I have it insured for stated value, meaning, all right, it's a classic, so it's worth more than the street value would normally be because it's a classic Airstream, so it has some collectible value. So rather than just say, hey, you guys pay us for the damage if it gets destroyed, I can state the collectible value, and they insure it. So I can, if my Airstream, I could sell it, or if it's damaged physically and the parts to fix it or to rebuild it would be 12, 15 grand, but in all reality, it's worth considerably more than that. My insurance policy reflects that value that if I tried to sell it, I could get. And you should be able to do that on your home. And if you wanted to state your value, as long as the appraised value is at or less than that, you should be able to do that. And the insurance regulation on that should reflect that idea.
I agree. Now, like I said, everybody's still feeling the pain from insurance. Now, here's another sign that it's getting better. You saw that there's a new company coming in, but one of the big predictors is we're pulling plans off of Citizens. And listen, when I first got in, we were so heavy in Citizens that if we'd had three, or if we'd had one storm hit it like a Miami or hit a Tampa or something like that, we were about to, your car insurance, your health insurance, everything would have gone up because Citizens would have gone under.
Sure.
And there's a statute there that says if Citizens doesn't have the money, then they can raise and add a fee onto everybody's insurance across the entire state. And so the fact that we're pulling our number of Citizens policies is down is a good thing. But
so closing statement on insurance, Heather says, for the love of everything decent and holy, please figure out insurance. So
we're trying to.
That's a good way to move on. Let's move on to a couple of national things. We may go a little long tonight, but it's our first cast back in 5 months. So Shane, if you have time, we'd like to keep you around for a minute.
Before you go national, I want to ask one more statewide type situation.
Okay.
Go for it.
Florida Power and Light wants a multi-year plan that raises the base rate in 2026 and 2027 with extra charges in 2028 and 2029 for new projects. So our electric bill is going to go up and down. I'm sorry, it's going to go up based on new projects, energy prices, etc. What is there anything there that would, and I know this isn't a legislative issue, it's a what's it called? The Public Service Commission. These people are appointed and they decide this issue. So what can we do to make sure that, hey, listen, if the fuel prices go up and we pay more, do we get a credit when the fuel prices go down, or these projects end? Are our bills going to go down? Because we all know the bill goes up and it almost never comes down.
Never comes down. That's something you reach out to the PSC. I actually got to serve on that committee this summer where we had 2 openings. And then so we recommend, I think, 5 to the governor, and he appoints 2. He was appointing 2 new ones. Reach out to them and say it and tell them. Legislatively, you say there's not anything to do, but I think there may be. I really think, and this may go awry too, but who cares? I really think the future is there are new nuclear plants that are the size of your house type of scenario that can power large grids. Now, when you say nuclear, everybody goes crazy, but it's come so far. I think that it's a way of $28.99. I love that. Good move, Wes.
We got to pay for this software, man.
But listen, there are some new nuclear plant type things that are on small footprints that have become really, really safe that we're going to have to try to start looking at a little bit better. The majority of our power runs on gas. I mean, all these plants may have turbines and different things like that, but every single one of them is running on gas.
Sure.
And that makes us vulnerable. So
yeah,
nuclear can really
nuclear.
Absolutely.
Listen, when Florida Power and Light jumped into our world here, and I don't know how that all played out, but all of a sudden my bill almost doubled for the same usage. When they first started, I don't know, it's probably like 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe longer. Yeah. And now I'm reading where they want nothing ever came down. There was no cut. There was no reduction or anything. It's always just steadily gone up and up and up and up. And then now they're sitting in front of this committee or commission asking for raise increase again.
Yeah.
Like this has got to stop. I mean, we've had the discussion on how do we get the traditional family back? How do we get a single household income? I mean, between insurance, between property taxes, income tax, our electric bill, our insurance bill, like just that without buying any food or gas, the numbers are ridiculous. You can't survive in any kind of decent domicile with any kind of size family with a single income.
So I'm gonna touch on 2 things right there. One, I give them a little bit of wiggle room when they first bought Gulf Power, because I think what happened was there was a very the electric company we had may not have been putting any money or the right amount of money back into infrastructure, and so you had a little bit of a cost there. But you're right, and I want the PSC to do the right thing, but it also comes back to our human behavior. I'm burning more electricity right now than I probably, when I was a kid, than we probably did in a week span. I got 50 light bulbs on right now, I guarantee.
The
they're LEDs, right?
Kilowatt is going up. So
there's no doubt. I mean, I get it.
It could have an impact on usage, but the cost per usage is going up.
Yeah, and I, granted, it's going to have to. I hope the PSC says it should. If it goes up, it's only going up because it's got to stay in line with what is the appreciation value of the actual energy that's coming in and all that. But again, that's where we got to come up with a real solution other than the energy source that we've got right now, because we can drive down costs. That's just where we got to go. And again, I'm like you. Yeah. Don't ask for something crazy. So.
Okay. You talked me out of it.
I
I was about to go crazy, but anyway, I was going to go the competition route. Let's build a nuclear plant, and all of that. So, all right. In addition to being a goat farmer, and also being a Florida state representative, and a seller of rubber tires, you are a pharmacist. How do you feel about the Trump RX situation?
And before all you there go to blasting me on social media, I love my president, but that is a disaster. Let me just give you the very simple piece of that. Trump RX is the government saying, hey, come buy medications from us and we'll sell it to you cheaper.
Get the government out of it.
You know what that's called?
Bad.
It's called socialized medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
and that I have yet to see work anywhere. That's a slippery start.
And what's going on here, a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people who are Trump supporters, who are huge fans of limiting welfare and limiting Medicaid and limiting government expenditures, what's going on with this is the government will just be subsidizing the cost of these meds. It's not like they're they'll negotiate them a little cheaper. They'll get a bulk deal on this stuff, but they're still going to be supplementing the cost of them. That's how
he needs to go back to his original plan. His original plan I'm in line with. And that is whatever you're selling it to everybody else is what you're going to sell it to us for. Yeah. We don't need to be subsidizing the world's medications.
No, absolutely.
I like that plan. Listen, I'm usually not a price fixer, but that's not price fixing. That's finally taking a stand saying, okay, we're not going to pay for Europe's and Africa's and everybody else's medications and for the research for it all. Whatever you're selling it cheap to somebody is what you better be selling it to us for. And so I like that plan. I think what you're going to see with the Trump RX too is when the dust starts settling, it's probably going to be a limited number of drugs, one, and maybe a limited number of, and they may have done this to appease him so that they don't get hit with tariffs. Watch, it'll be a Pfizer or a Bristol Myers.
Well, Pfizer's already one of them. I mean, that was in the headline. Pfizer's in the headline.
Yeah, so it'll be Pfizer, and it probably won't be all of Pfizer's drugs to start with. It'll be some of them, and they've probably done this because that allows them to avoid the tariffs, because you remember he said that if you don't start manufacturing these things in the United States of America, we're going to start putting tariffs on you that are out of this world. And I think this is their way of trying to skirt doing that. And they're probably they've thought that, hey, we'll make you look like a hero and do this. They're going to skirt the tariffs. It's going to be a disaster, and I don't like it.
Please
Fair. Dan, do you have anything
to
add on that before I move on? Excuse me.
Please do not allow the government to get involved in even more stuff, especially the federal government.
Well, and that's
out of healthcare. Like, how did we react to Obamacare when it happened?
Oh,
we had people running to get rid of it, and then change their mind at the last minute. John McCain comes to mind. It's been a disaster from a healthcare standpoint. My health insurance premiums are freaking insane this year compared to every other year.
Listen, everybody's talking about. You want to talk about property insurance? But you think property insurance is an evil? Go look at your healthcare insurance. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
you're probably paying more. I guarantee you're paying more for it than you probably are your homeowner's insurance.
So one of my insurance agencies that I owned back in Georgia, I sold. I didn't really push it, but I sold some health insurance through the agency, and I sold a guy who owned a massage business. It wasn't that kind. It wasn't like an Asian massage business, but it was a massage.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I'm just letting you know. I mean, a lot of Asian parlors got busted back in Georgia. So anyway, his policy covered more than our current policy through the hospital that my wife works at. The deductibles were a third of what they are. And it cost him, and he had a family of 4, about half of what is being drawn out of my wife's check every other week.
But here's the problem too, Wes. Find out how much her employer's having to pay on top of what
yeah. Oh, well, they're self-insured, so there's probably some breaks there. And they mandate that you use their services. Like if I want to go out of
that's probably the only reason that they can keep it at right now.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise,
absolutely.
it'd be triple that. And
Yeah.
it's just like the state plan. Listen, everybody says, well, why you do this job? The reason I do this job is because I love helping people. That's the number one reason. Now, when I'm kidding around, I'll tell them, well, it sure isn't for the salary because it sucks, but I do it for the health insurance. We've got this premium Cadillac coverage with the state, and to be honest with you, I addressed some of it, come back and address it again this year. I'm going to, change some of it because it's costing us too much money, and we're all going to have to start being a little more responsible for our health, be a little bit better in the decision making we do, healthcare wise, because it is crazy what we're paying for health insurance on employee plan. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Try doing it in the private world. You were dead on when you said I'm paying more than my property taxes, over 4 times more.
We're paying more in 2 months than we are our.
I bet if you add up all your car insurance, your home insurance, and if you got life insurance, I bet you add them all up, it's not even close to healthcare.
No,
and yet we're not
on an annual basis. No. So all right, I'm gonna move on just because I don't want to go too long. The Congress is, the government shut down, the feds shut down today, guys.
Yeah.
Now I'm personally okay with that. I have no issue with that, and because hopefully they'll come back slimmer and meaner.
What did you? Hey, you said we weren't going to drink on the podcast, so what'd you drink?
I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking, but
Well, you think they're coming back and slimmer? You're doing something.
Well, if they lay off all these people that Trump's threatening to lay off, they will at least be slimmer. Now they'll bulk it back up real quick.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, they'll put it somewhere else and spend it somewhere else. But I just for the record, because there's a lot, obviously Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are getting in front of the camera and saying, well, the Republicans are blocking this, blah, 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 blah. Every Republican in both the House and the Senate voted for the continuing resolution to fund government. And every one of them voted for the same bill that they have passed during the Biden administration twice, minus the health care for the illegals. So Trump, being Trump, he tweeted this right here. I'm going to play it for everybody real quick.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
So your president on Truth Social and Twitter posted that. But what other, the jokes aside and the crassness of that aside and the 5th grade humor level aside, the truth in that is, what other reason would they be such sticklers for that that particular part of that spending package to be in there?
There is no other reason.
There is no. And listen, everybody gets all fearful, and there'll be some negatives that come from the government being shut down.
Sure. But we obviously don't want somebody to lose their job.
Right. Right. I don't want, and I know it's going to be hard for some folks, but there's part of me that goes, man, if we did that a couple of days a year, how much of the deficit could we trim off? But I'm hoping the real truth comes in, like you said. How do we trim down? How do we keep the real essential folks and keep them paid and get rid of all the crap we don't need?
Well, for
And
one,
I'm glad.
Congress
Listen, I'm glad
didn't need to be paid during the shutdown. Those
No,
guys
if
don't need to
you're
collect your check.
right, if you're going to, if it's going to be a shutdown, everybody who gets a check is funded by the federal government should go away. Did you
But
see
in
where
all
Ashley?
reality, a lot of people will still get checks, even
Oh,
with the shutdown.
they're gonna backfill it all, and then it's like, I here's the crazy thing is there's probably now 10, 15 years ago, if you were a federal employee, you were probably a little scared about the fact that you're not getting paid. I would almost bet 90-something% of them now are going, I'm not that worried about it. I got another day off, and they're going to write me a check back for the day off I had anyway.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's what they've done every time they've shut it down. So this not only speaks to the overbloated budget that the federal government has, but it also speaks to their lack of accountability. They knew this day was coming. Why weren't they talking about this 3 months ago? And to what you were saying, if we shut down government a few days, a couple of times a year, Congress, 1700s. I mean, from when the Second Constitutional Congress, when the U.S. Constitution was written, until early 1900s, they met about as long as you guys do in the state legislature. They weren't there all year long. They'd come meet for a few months, and they were done for the year.
And here's what's amazing: they'll meet a lot and not accomplish much. And what happens is, here's why they don't. They knew it was coming 3 months ago, yes, but here's the reality of it: is some of them have been up there so long that if you wait till the last minute, you can get a whole bunch of crap in there because it looks bad. And so it's stuff you would never even try to introduce as a bill or anything like that in a regular congressional session because it would get murdered on the floor and everywhere else. So yeah, anyway, yeah. Here's one thing I can tell you right now. If you told me tomorrow you can be a congressman and you don't even have to go politic, I'd tell you can go fly a kite. I'm not going up there.
Dude, I have no desire.
I can literally
have your job. And I mean, if I'm being honest.
Listen, I can literally affect in a positive manner the state of Florida and my communities more from this position than I can from a congressional seat.
Well, and you're a good bit more diplomatic than I am in my statements. So I cannot do that. I just, I don't know. Somebody a few years back, somebody came and asked me to run for the county commission, and
you can't make me do that one.
I thought about it, and then I'm like, there's no way, no. I mean, that's even worse. I mean, it's you can go to the state level, and not saying you do this, Shane, but I mean, you can kind of get lost in the mix a little bit. And you've got a lot more decision makers as opposed to 5 people, where if 10% of the population don't like what you've done, then they're out there bashing you right and left. Mm-hmm. So it's a terrible, terrible thing. Along those lines, a lot of people, especially on the Trump side of things, really don't like this guy. I do. I think he speaks truth to authority.
Sorry.
But Thomas Massey made a great point here. A lot of people aren't going to like this, and I'm sorry in advance, but I think it's worthy of looking at it. Both parties are ridiculous. Republicans passed a line-by-line continuation of Biden's last budget, including DOGE identified waste. But Democrats refused to vote for Biden's last budget, thereby shutting down the government. I voted nay when it was for Biden, and I'm nay now. And he goes on, there's a couple other tweets along those lines where he's stating, oh, Dan's back. I didn't know Dan got up.
I tried to sneak it in there, close the door so the dog's going to interrupt us again.
It speaks to something we were talking about earlier a little bit about agreeing on a moral basis, but this is agreeing on an ideological basis. And we were talking about big R's and little R's and rhinos and whatnot and stuff like that. We have a tendency, and both sides do this, that if somebody's got an R by their name, and that's our guy, and we're going to support them regardless of the dumb things they do. And the left does that a lot better than the right does, because they're going to support, they're going to toe that line, or they get kicked out of the party. Elon Musk's a great example of that. And Meyer, what's his name? The talk show host, the comedian talk show host. I told somebody the other day he's about 2 shades from being kicked out of the left because of some of the things he's been saying lately. But it is we have to stay true and intellectually honest to the values, even if it's our guy rooting for him. And that's one of my frustrations. We keep talking about our frustrations back in May. That was another one of my frustrations, is we were supporting stupid policies and still claiming to be conservatives. And we can't do that. We've got to call stupid. And we've got to call smart, support the smart stuff and get rid of the stupid stuff. Don't support it just because it's our guy that does it. And you know what? Another thing we can do is, just because I don't agree with your policy don't mean I don't love you. You know what I'm saying? Right. Go ahead. This goes back to the whole Charlie Kirk thing.
Two important parts right there. The last one is the most important. Even if though you don't agree with the policy, let's just say you don't agree with my policy, you still love me as a human being, and more importantly, as a Christian. That's the most important piece.
Absolutely. You have to separate, and a lot of people don't understand how I can sit here and debate people, and you've got to be rude to me to make me mad at you.
Right. The second piece is, you may love 20 things I do and one that you don't like. The problem nowadays is it's the one you don't like makes you hate me. We're like 99% of the time, and then there's one issue that you disagree with, and that's the one that you're going to vote or hold as the most important thing.
So many people are single issue voters, man, and it's a shame. I knew conservatives that jump side because of one issue, and now they are active in the Democrat Party, and I refuse to call them Democratic Party, by the way. Democrat Party. They're active in the Democrat Party just because of one single issue, and vice versa.
And people sometimes are so belligerent about it that they may not support me because of one issue, and they'll go support somebody that they don't even realize yet disagreed with them on 50% of the issues. And they'll find that out later once the voting starts. So it's one of those things where, listen, we're not going to think alike on every single thing, and we can have a great conversation. I'm always open to listening, which is what everybody should be doing. So if you've got a great point that you think makes me look at something different, I will always listen. At the end of the listening, I may hurt your feelings and say, yeah, I still think that's a dumb idea.
Well, you and I, in one of our first conversations on the cast, we talked about customary use, and you and I were a little bit on opposite sides of that, and still are. But I still love you, brother.
Oh, I love you too.
I'm not voting for you ever again, but I'm kidding.
Even if I lower your homeowner's insurance, right?
I mean, there are people who toe that kind of line, and I demonstrated the absurd by doing that. But it is, you know what? I don't know. Like never mind. I'm not getting local. I don't know any. I know one of those guys personally, one and a half of those guys personally, and I like them as people. I don't always agree with what they do, but I don't know any of them enough to hate them.
No.
And
listen,
go ahead.
Hate is part of that downfall. We talk about it. We keep coming back to the thing of traditional family. Traditional family does not breed hatred towards others. That's not part of. I mean, that's at the end of the day. I got more trouble
growing up for saying I hated somebody than I did by accidentally calling my brother a bastard at the dinner table. Growing
That's
up,
true.
and I grew up in a pastor's family, so you would think the bastard would get you in a lot more trouble than saying hate, but I'd get in a lot more trouble by saying hate. So, and I jokingly probably use that word a lot more now, but you're right, man. I'm telling you what, this whole Charlie Kirk thing, from an intellectual standpoint, has tremendously had me rethinking an awful lot. Now, let me transition real quick because we're about to be at an hour and a half total. There's been a lot being said lately about Islamic infiltration in
the Panhandle.
In the Panhandle, not only in the UK, but I've got a video right here that I want to show real quick, and then we can talk about it. A lot of people may not have seen this yet.
Within the Panhandle, but our goal is to open an office and have that team, maybe an individual, and inshallah, if Allah gives tawfiq to have more, to engage the Panama City community, Pensacola, and Tallahassee. So the west side of the Panhandle. They will be the Care Florida representative, working with the advocacy hubs, the masajid, the schools, the organization, and in my view, in my humble opinion, focusing on youth and implementing within them, impressing upon their hearts that yes, it's good to give somebody a translation Quran, yes, it's good to talk to somebody about Islam, but it's just as good, if not better, to have a mind of public service, that they should aspire to be Muslim state representatives.
So I'll wait and express my thoughts in just a minute.
It's in that office he talked about.
Yeah,
on Front Beach Road in Panama City.
Oh yeah, they've got a mosque over there that's been there for a while, and they've had events. And
the subtitle said "Care," C-A-R-E. It's C-A-I-R, and that's the group that has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. The FBI will no longer associate with them. They're bad news. And
yeah, there's several things that come to my mind when I see that. One, we passed a law a little while back where we wouldn't let certain members of like Chinese and different things, that we don't let them buy land near what we call critical
facilities.
Places.
Yeah,
right. And so that's something we're going to have to address probably, because use the word hate. We don't hate them, but I can promise you they may hate us.
Well, and the thing is all right, we're not going to get into a huge discussion of church and state, but constitutionally they have just as much right to worship and to do whatever they want to do. However, as we've seen with videos out of Detroit recently, where a Christian goes in and says, I'm not comfortable with you guys having this stuff on the cop uniforms and this here. And the mayor laughed them out and said, well, I guess you just need to move out of town. And the bust today, I think it was Minnesota, by the ICE agents, they busted a lot of people in important positions, and forgive me, I didn't read the entire article. I was trying to prep all the software and everything today, but ICE busted a bunch of people who were not here legally in Minnesota, who were in government positions of Islamic faith. Now, I'm not trying to bring up a slippery slope fallacy here, but if you look at France, if you look at London in the UK, where they're arresting people for sharing memes related to Muslims, you walks like a duck, talks like a duck. You have to at least pay attention to something like this. But legally, what recourse do you have if they want to organize, they want to form and get people elected? How do you combat something like that not to prohibit them from being productive members of society, but from taking over and instituting Sharia law?
You do what we talked about at the very. I mean, I want you to go back and watch that thing again. And what is he talking? Who are they going to focus on?
They're talking about young men. They're talking about young men, young
youth.
people.
The youth. They're going to focus on the youth. Well, we've been talking about all the downfalls of society because guess what? We haven't really focused on protecting our youth and educating them of what it means to be an American citizen, a proud American citizen. When the three of us grew up, we would have gladly gone to war to protect our country because we still would. We'd be the first one shot, but we would still go do it. And it's because we love our country that much. We've not done a very good job of teaching the youth what that means. We haven't passed that down, and we better get in that. We better get to it because you just heard him. That's who they're focused on. So you better get focused.
Right, you're absolutely. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at
I know.
that Dan has a mute button on his mic and he's still sneezing where we can hear it.
New software.
I feel like I just caught COVID.
Yeah.
So that's why we're not in the driveway, and it's not COVID. It's a cold.
Man, you know what? I over the last few weeks since Kirk was murdered, I've done a lot of soul searching, a lot of thought, a lot of consideration about not only this world we live in, but about my own view of this world that we live in. And I think we touched on it earlier. We approach differences of opinion from a standpoint of love. We listen, and then as long as we stand firm in our foundational beliefs and can express those in an intelligent, non-aggressive way, I think we win this thing.
No, I do too.
By this thing, I mean society and the hope of the future. I mean, I know that's lofty and, it's non-quantifiable, but
I just hope we don't have to learn a lesson the hard way where society just completely unravels and we have to rebuild it again.
I'm with you, Dan. That's a prayer that I hope we don't get there. Listen, I hope the Kirk incident does what folks are hoping it will do after him, and that is revive, in essence. Let's break it down. What was Kirk doing? Kirk was doing exactly what you and I just talked about.
Yep.
Who was he going after? He wasn't going after 50-year-old men and 60-year-old men. He was trying to change. He wanted those youth and college-age folks where they're the most vulnerable is the word I would like to use right there. That's where I think
impressionable is probably better.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're also I say impressionable because they're impressionable, but they're also more targeted at that age and especially on a college campus. And that's where he was going to do what he was doing, and he was trying to save the next generations and the youth. And we better wake up and do the same thing. Listen, it has been great to watch how many folks are wanting to do turning point things on school campuses. And Charlie, it's like these races right now to see who can, in Lake County won, who can name a road after Charlie Kirk the fastest, who can do all that. I just hope that we keep the focus of what was Charlie Kirk really doing? And what would Charlie Kirk tell you? I mean, I watched one of his interviews. He said, what would you want to be known for if you were gone?
Yeah.
And his number one thing was that I was consistent in my faith to Christ. Is getting the priorities right. And that was what was so beautiful about what he did, is he debated completely opposite spectrums where the person across from him was 100,000% different minded, did it in a loving way, bringing in Christ and influence him. And he changed, and he was changing communities. He was changing environments. And listen, if that group that you just played that thing from, and I'm not going to mention their names, if they know it's smart to focus on the youth, we better wake up and get smart and realize that's what we better focus on.
So along those lines, Mary actually messaged me a question today.
I see it. A school?
And
Yeah, she gave me her Christmas wish list. She wants a school in Florida named after Charlie Kirk. We are definitely going to we're going to attempt it. We'll see if we can make it happen.
well, I think I expressed to her the target school she's interested in. There are certain people who sit on that board who would do everything they can to try to block it.
Well, and I expressed to her that, that one's difficult too because there's private dollars involved in that, and
Sure.
so that changes the rules on it. Our ability to do things like that. But and I see what Heather just said. He debated calmly. Also, it was amazing. You know what's amazing about Charlie Kirk? That sucker was 31 years old.
He was a young man, and yeah, we talked about that last night. It's amazing thinking about all the dumb crap I was doing when I was 31 years old, and he was mature beyond his years. He was able to communicate way beyond his years, and he showed a result. He showed more. I mentioned this last night. He showed more patience as he got older. He was a lot more aggressive when he was younger in his debate style. But you look at his last 3-4 years, he's extremely patient. He's extremely willing to listen. He always put the people who disagree with him in front of the line. And
look at how effective he was. When he first started doing it was a folding chair and a folding table. And most of the people that were standing in front of him wanted to throw him off campus.
Yeah.
The last rally he did, there was over 3,000 people, and I guarantee you 90-95% were there to support him.
Yeah.
He was extremely effective. He was providing an alternative, and called it. It's crazy to think that way. An alternative thought process to these young men who were in an indoctrination camp on our college campuses, and he was so good at it, they killed him.
Yeah, and listen, now my fear is we need to make the next Charlie Kirk, but we got to make sure that we're focused on what made Charlie Kirk Charlie Kirk.
Well,
because
you've seen a lot of Nick Freitas is one guy. He's like, you killed the nice one.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is we got to make sure that the next one we're not pointing him to Charlie Kirk. We're pointing him to the one who made Charlie Kirk who he was. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
There it is. And because if we're not careful, we'll worship the man, not worship the one the man was following.
Well, and that's one of my concerns, and Mary may get mad at me. I'm not singling you out with this, Mary, but one of my concerns with renaming streets and schools is it to some degree you deify somebody by doing that. I don't. That's something I've never understood. Yeah, you want to honor somebody, and I'm not opposed to that. I'm not saying that I am.
Right.
I am.
Right.
But I want to be careful with it and not. You want to listen to Charlie's message more than deify Charlie. He was a martyr. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And he has caused a absolute movement that I'm scared because I'm familiar with how short public memory is. That may be fizzling a little bit, unfortunately, and that's one of the reasons. And I say that because this is going to sound arrogant or narcissistic. I wrote a song called "Sorry, Charlie," and had bunches of people ask me to release it, and there's costs involved with that. I did, and nobody's listened to it since I've released it, and it not that I won't that for myself, but that is kind of a bellwether of I don't want to use the word excitement where we were right after the assassination versus where we've moved on, and that's what I'm fear, and that whole revival, and I'm going to use that word, the revival that's come as a result of that happening, I'm scared is cooling off more than we want it to. And I'm just I know the stats of my song. That's the only reason I'm pointing to that and using it as an example because I watched it. When I put out a lyric video, a couple of thousand people watched it. You need to release this song. You need to release this song. I released it, and nobody's listening to it. So not that I'm saying go listen to the song. I'm saying that's a unit of measurement that I can lay my hands on and know for fact. And then you can also see in some of these chat groups and these private groups where the people who were being canceled just a week and a half ago for saying mean, awful, nasty things and celebrating this guy's assassination, you can see where they're back emboldened and they're saying these mean and nasty things again. They're just gone and created anonymous accounts to do it. So
I can almost hear him hissing.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's like night is falling and you've beat the wolves back a little bit. Then you try to get a little rest and you sit back, and the next night the wolves are right back.
yeah.
Well, listen, there's a spiritual war going on. I mean, we can deny this all we want to. That's the bottom line. All the nuts and bolts and the different pieces we talk about. The bottom line is this is a spiritual war. There are evil people out there that want to do evil things, and they disguise them as nice and godly things, and they're not. And I've spent so many hours trying to convince them, and it's like you're talking to the devil, trying to convince the devil not to be the devil. It's, to me,
you're not gonna do.
it doesn't work. But I'm not ready to give up on humanity in that regard, so I still fight the battle, even though I do it in the area that I'm involved in.
And you have to, and sometimes you fight that battle with what we talked about earlier, something that they don't expect, which sometimes is love. I go back to there's a member of the other caucus in the House who cannot think any differently than I do. I mean, there are times I go, what planet could you possibly be from? I mean, just way out there. And then I remember her daughter was sick last year, and everything there's eating inside of me. I'm like, what is the? And so I wasn't calm until I called her to check on her daughter. And she didn't expect that at all. She's like, what is here?
Well, it goes to that whole thing that we can disagree, but I can still love you. I mean, and that you showed love in doing that. And that's what we're called to do, really.
Absolutely.
As Christians, that's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
I don't have
and
to
sometimes
agree
you
with
have to take it, and sometimes you have to take that hard stand, and it's going to make you some enemies. But you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm not here trying to please Wes and Dan. If I'm trying to please y'all and it makes him unpleased, I've failed in my job.
Well, it's another one of Charlie's things, and I mean, was that true love is not going along with everything you do and agreeing and allowing you to do things. True love is being honest and telling you when, all right, I think you're messing up. And his example is one of his speeches where one of his back and forth was, if my sister is wearing a very ugly dress and I allow her to leave the house without it saying, look, do you really want to wear that? Because somebody's going to, I'm being meaner than he is, but I am meaner than he is. Because somebody's going to laugh at your sister. Do you not express the fact that, look, you may not want to wear that out? Or do you say, oh, okay, that's what you want to wear? All right, I love you. Let's do this. That's not how love works. Mm-hmm. Love speaks the truth.
What I can't take, and this is something that I have a hard time dealing with in a calm and loving manner, is the sexualization of children, getting them involved.
Oh, that's another hour.
Exposed to, these adult themes, and you got displays that the whole sexual orientation thing, and
that
the people that are trying to make this a normality and try to present it in the eyes of children. Like, I had an argument today with somebody. I'm like, they're like, there's same-sex couples that have kids in the world. I'm like, yeah, there's like 35,000 of them in the United States. It's like 0.009%. Chances are the majority of kids are never going to see that in the normal occurrence of society. But you putting it on display at the local public library puts it right in their face. It causes conversations with parents at an age in which these children shouldn't have to be dealing with these type of situations. And it makes me absolutely nuts that liberal suburban white women can't see that. Like moms who have little kids, the same moms that are taking their kids to the freaking drag shows and giving dollar bills for the kids to put up in a tranny's garter. I mean, this is insane. And
if you don't,
all right. Dan, you'll go 3 hours on that topic.
But listen, he's not wrong. Because
not saying you're wrong.
But here's the thing. Because of the way we've allowed that to be displayed publicly and our kids have to deal with it, I saw a the other day where it shows all the different countries and the likelihood of a kid becoming a transgender. And we're the highest. And you cannot make that chart make sense unless we're doing something unnatural in society.
Yes.
And so
the statistic,
I know you. I'll stay on here for like hours and hours, so we will go.
Well, I'm going to keep talking until Wes unplugs me.
I'm about to mute you, man. Speaking of,
hold up, I got to
man, I've been trying to say this. Now, let me say
Wes, you've been talking the whole friggin' cast. I've said
you're supposed to be on Nyquil.
Hey, y'all both
doing good. I want to just make
a
point
with
what Shane just said.
This is our love, man.
That came out was in the last Gallup poll. The number of people who identify as trans is almost 25%. That's insane. That's unheard of. Almost 25% that you self-identify as trans. It's become a cultural phenomenon because it's promoted everywhere. Look at who's going to be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, but if you look at those stats, to your point, you look at our stats versus the rest of the world, and we are exponentially higher. Mr. Wayland, and you're going to have to wait a minute, my cat.
We've let these people do it unchecked.
Well, and Mary, I'm going to put this back up on the screen here. Florida Doge today found out that Escambia County, I think, was it Escambia or Pensacola?
That's both. Pensacola's in the Escambia.
Well, I know that, but I couldn't remember which government had granted the money. Had given, what was it, $300,000 to supplement a drag show at the Sanger Theater. That's government paying for that. And that is absolutely ridiculous.
Agreed.
So that being said, let's open it up for some questions. If anybody has any questions, it looks like we only have 4 viewers left right now. But let's see if anybody has any questions for Shane.
Yeah, open it up for questions for me. But while we're waiting on some of those, here's what I want. If you had one thing you wanted me to address on the state level this year, what would it be for the two of you?
I like the idea, and I don't know if you wanted me to bring this up or not, but you brought up the idea of earmarking funding for Bright Futures to speak to skilled positions and incentivizing schools to make sure that those kids had a job within so much time frame. I think that is an absolute fabulous idea. Now, is that what I would be my preference if you were Santa and I was hanging out with you today? That may not be my number one, but I'm also not under any illusion that what I would prefer from government is ever going to happen at this point. So that I think is a great, absolutely fabulous idea. And I also, that's all I'm going to say on that right now. Dan?
I want something to be done about insurance pricing.
Which one?
We spent a lot of time talking about it.
Homeowners or just all of it in general?
Yes.
All right. Now here's the flip side of that. How do you do it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, as somebody, coming from an insurance background, it is very difficult to do that. The state can't come in and mandate pricing because they also mandate how much money they've got to have on hand to pay claims. And when you've got, now when I first moved to Walton County, you could buy a house on the beach for less than $1 million. Now you can't buy one for less than 4 or 5 million. So if one of those houses gets wiped out, or even one inland that's still worth $1.5 million, 2 million, those insurance companies have to still be able to pay their claims. And in order to do that and maintain the reserves in place that the state requires them to have, and that's a percentage of their total insured, their total book of what they've got insured, man, unless you can drive down home values.
I'll do it this way. This is insurance prices for all insurance. Every year, every bit of insurance, our entire lifetimes. It's this. And I am pro keeping government out of everything we can, but government is involved in this issue and they're not doing anything to get even this. So I'm not in government. I don't know all the laws and all the things that are on the books. So I'm willing to be educated, and I understand. And Shane, you make great points of pros and cons and playing devil's advocate in these things. But something has to be done because there is a significant portion of government involvement in the insurance business. Wes just laid a bunch of it out for us. That involvement is in no way affecting the cost of insurance, or maybe it is, and it could be freaking 100 times more. I don't know, but that's even a scarier prospect.
Well, I'll go ahead and go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
So here's one of the things you also have to look at. It's the old laws of supply and demand.
Sure.
And the demand to live in Florida is really high.
It is.
And so what that's done over the last 4 to 5 years is the home you're probably sitting in right now has been evaluated at probably 80% or more than what it was 5 years ago because the demand. So that's the other piece is how do you regulate the valuation side of it, but not overstep your boundaries as a government? Because you may have bought your house for $150,000 10 years ago, but because the demand to live down here now is so great, your house is worth $400,000. And how do I fix that?
Well, one place we can start, we touched on earlier, is allowing stated value insurance. I mean, it can't be more than replacement costs, but if somebody comes in and says, look, you know what, my house is paid for or majority paid for, I know I could rebuild it for less than you're saying I can rebuild it for. I know you say it's worth $2 million, but I only want $1 million worth of coverage. Yep. What that does is that takes the risk out of the pocket of the insurance company. Yep. And you allow the homeowner to accept a certain level of risk more than they would be if you mandate replacement value.
The problem is these things ebb and flow based on the current market and property values. We had a fire in South Walton that took out a subdivision, multiple houses. I had multiple friends, and this was probably 8-10 years ago, that wiped out their house, and they could not build a new house that was anywhere near the house that was burned down. Yeah. So there's situations where you're where we are now, where it's not going to cost as much to build it that you're getting valued at.
Well, here's what you do: you take a
where people have had houses destroyed and haven't been able to build an equivalent house.
Well, here's what you do: you take a page out of all these people online that are pro customary use, who has said that there is no access to beaches down here. There's no way you can get on the beach because it's all private, and that's going to naturally drive down the cost of properties down here. And I'll tell you how I know this, because I have played music on this beach for the last 3 years straight, and I've sat there and watched the same venues have 3/4 of the tourists They're not spending as much. They are tipping less, and that is going to kill the economy down here. And as a result, it's going to drive property values down. Now, I say that tongue in cheek to a little degree, because it's terrible that people are making less money down here. The business owners are making less money, but it's that type of propaganda that has a negative impact on not only the economy, but the property values. Because if you look at Mississippi and you take the casinos out of Biloxi, they've got a little bit of beach line down there, but it's a poor state. And I guarantee you that you could go over there and buy a house on the beach and insure it for a third of the cost that we do here, because the average home price on that beach, even with the casinos, is probably half of what it is over here.
Right, but it also goes back to what I just said in supply and demand.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if any of the three of us want to go live in Mississippi.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No, me either. I like where I'm at.
I don't want to live anywhere with an income tax ever again. I lived in Georgia.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And that's the other thing, not to recycle an issue, but going back to property taxes. That's one of the things everybody wants to do is, one, we're never going to do an income tax. You should never say never. You should never say
never, because
right. But I will not vote for one. But everybody wants to offset it sometimes with a sales tax. But the problem with that is you got to be careful, especially where we live. Now, if you go back to what the original plan and wiping out a lot of the property taxes, you had to go up to about 11-12% sales tax. Well, maybe there's some areas of Florida that'll survive, but if you're in North Florida, you can't make it, because where are you going to go grocery shopping? I'll go to Dothan and buy my groceries and save enough money to make the trip to Dothan.
Yeah, a lot of people still do that. People up in Chipley, they go into Georgia and Alabama.
But try to be the 7-Eleven on the Florida side of the line and you got to compete with the 7-Eleven on the other side of the line, and you're 3% higher.
It's kind of like us back when there were no alcohol sales in Georgia on Sunday. We'd always come into Florida and grab alcohol.
Try being a gas station trying to sell beer near a golf course that's funded by the county, with a restaurant and bar in it.
All right. That's enough. We can talk about that next week.
We got any other issues?
I think I'm going to make it a mission to talk about the golf course and the restaurant and bar at every.
You've missed 5 months of talking about it. I get it. Yeah. So, guys, are there any questions for Shane, real quick? Because I've got to go grab my daughter from work here in a minute, and I would also like to know what you think of our first cast ever without a drop of alcohol while we were doing it.
Y'all done great. I've enjoyed the heck out of it.
Very exciting backdrop.
And I thought you were talking about the flag.
No, it's the helmet.
All you get right there.
So I want to real quick. I'm going to speak to Mary's Convention of States. I have a huge concern with that, because if you have a Convention of States that allows people to come in and totally rewrite the Constitution or amend existing amendments, especially the number 2 amendment that I'm a big fan of. And I don't know that if we had a Convention of States, which would be basically a supermajority of all 50 states, 34 states, I think it is, that we could get people to agree to keep the Second Amendment in that case.
I'll be honest with you.
That's my biggest fear there.
I'll be honest with you, and this is no offense to you, Shane. Something like that, my concern is we do not have enough truly intelligent, good, caring people in these public positions that would make the right decisions in a convention of states.
Yeah, that's my big concern.
Like our political landscape at every level, from federal, state, not so much in our state, but there's issues in our state, of course, and then local. There's people that I freaking wouldn't put in charge of cutting my grass in those positions. Now you want them to rewrite the Constitution? That is a scary, scary
right. Yeah. So we had 4 delegation meetings yesterday, and one person came up, and I'm trying to remember which county it was, but it was on the population vote, wanting Florida to sign off on something that would allow the popular vote would be the winner, and that Florida's delegates.
The national popular vote. So get rid of
national popular vote. National popular vote. And somebody asked me afterwards what my thoughts were, and I was like, I don't feel good about that. And they're like, well, why? It's a national vote. whoever gets the most should win. I said, well, here's the problem. I got states I can't trust who's voting in.
Yeah. Are
Plain
you
and
talking about getting rid of the electoral college? Is that what they're
Right.
talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, that would be idiotic.
The electoral college, getting around the electoral college.
It would be
get around the
basically
electoral.
us, New York, California, Texas, fighting to control the presidency is what that would be.
Well, yeah, but it also, what's worse is we got to worry about 4 states letting any Joe Blow and then some that aren't breathing right now vote.
Oh yeah, did you hear about the illegal that had a voting? He had carried a voter ID card, and I think it was Pennsylvania or no, it was Maryland. So yeah.
So I don't trust other states. Period.
How about the illegal that was running the school board in Iowa?
Yeah,
I still can't understand that one.
I know. I read the article today. He says that his old attorney, told him he was good to go. He was legal.
Yeah,
I think that's BS, but
I have no responsibility here. My attorney.
Yeah. When I'm speeding to work tomorrow, I thought I was.
It wasn't your job to make sure
I was
you
on
had
a
a green
podcast
card
last night, and Shane Abbott said I could speed on the way to work.
No, yeah. It's just what I don't need now.
All right, guys, we've about knocked out a good 2 hours here, counting the few minutes before we got bumped off the first time.
We like to expect that we're coming back.
We're Jones, and we will be back next Wednesday, and we hope to come back with short casts multiple days a week, but we're still in the planning stages of that. We do like a morning coffee kind of thing where we sit down for about 10 minutes and we talk about the current events, and that way we can talk about philosophical stuff and more concrete stuff when we do the full cast every week. I am Wes. Shane, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on today. Hopefully we'll have you back real soon.
Absolutely. I tell you what, let's do. It's something I think I pitched to you my very first year, and I haven't followed through with it. And that is, let's do one of these up at the Capitol.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we didn't follow back through with that either. We got tied up. So we definitely want to do that. And hopefully we can get to some state conventions and set up a booth and do some spot interviews and stuff like that this year or next year or whatever or whenever.
I can't wait to host a debate on this platform.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
You can have how many people can you have on it, Wes?
We can have up to 10 people.
10 people, so we could actually have an online debate.
And I can mute people when they're.
I was going to say, who's controlling the meter?
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Dan and I will moderate, but I'll be the muter. All right, guys. Shane, thanks again for coming on. We'll talk to you real soon, brother.
Thanks, Shane.
And if y'all will hang out for just a second after we close out, Dan, I am your Uncle Wes for Dan. We'll see you next time on the Driveway Liberty Podcast.